excited. This is our face-to-face event for BuildingSMART UAE. We have a very famous and known researcher in BIM. We can call him Ibrahim, Bilal Succar. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Today we will have our workshop. In the first part, we will have Engineer Hamid to talk about the leadership role of the municipality in digital transformation and BIM adoption in United Arab Emirates. We have a short demo by Dr. Ibrahim Fahdah about the BIM tools or BIM e-checker for code compliance check for the BIM mandate which is coming soon, will be activated. And then we move to the important part of the workshop today is a presentation by Dr. Bilal Succar about the important role of public sector organization in digital transformation. He will take us through a journey about BIM adoption in different countries, success stories, about majority of BIM. I will not say more than this because I'm too excited to know, to hear the presentation by you. So, Engineer Hamid, if you are ready, I give you the stage.
Thank you so much, Tariq. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali, and welcome everyone. Inshallah, today I'm going to present Do you hear my voice well? Today, inshallah, I'm going to present the leadership role of the municipality in the digital transformation of construction sector in Dubai. Our content for today's presentation will be the BuildingSMART UAE chapter. Then we will talk about the DM digital strategy and the Dubai BIM adoption, which includes the Dubai BIM roadmap, BIM standards for building permit, and the Dubai BIM e-submission platform. Then we will go to the digital transformation initiatives, which will be digital twin for Dubai and the new building permit and control system. As a beginning for the BuildingSMART UAE, so the municipality hosts the United Arab Emirates branch of global organization, which is BuildingSMART, and this organization aims to enhance and support the digital transformation in the construction sector, supporting the digital transformation in the construction sector. So the initiatives aims to establish an open community for stakeholders interested in advancing the sector within the efforts, promoting the use and development of open standards for building information modeling, and we are looking for the collaborative efforts for all kinds of parties, educational, private companies, public sector, inshallah. So the BuildingSMART UAE chapter objectives is the leading the digital transformation of construction sector in UAE to support the adoption and the development of the open standards. So also we were participating in technical rooms and events, which also we want to build a strong community to enhance the collaboration between AEC stakeholders in the UAE. So in according to that, for the government leadership and foster engagement from industry, we are looking for that in academia and promoting the use of open BIM standards and digital methods. We also need the involvement of local international organizations, institutions, and associations. Also, we want to measure and evaluate the impact of the maturity of BIM in the majority of BIM in UAE. Also, we are looking to develop the BIM and digital strategies, guidelines, protocols, technical codes, and open standards to facilitate and standardize the use of BIM and GIS in UAE. So, developing an educational program also based on the BuildingSMART Professional Certification Program and organizing events like today's event, and inshallah we are looking forward to see you more. Here are some of the chapter activities, as you can see. The first image, which was the BIM Middle East conference in 2020, and this is when the chapter were released. Then we were organizing also workshops on open standards for BIM as a part of the conference. Also, we were participation in virtual summits, international virtual summit. It was in spring 2021, and also we were participation in BIM Middle East conference and exhibition. Here are some of the free webinars that you can find on the chapter. Inshallah, if you are a member, inshallah in the future we will see you. Maybe someone will participate as an engineer, or we are looking for all professionals here. Here is the invitation for joining the chapter. If you can scan the code, you will see, inshallah, all the details that you need to join the as a member. So now, as a member, it's free. You can join the chapter free without any fees. Sorry. You can scan the code if you want. So now we'll talk about the Dubai Municipality Digital Strategy. Here the mission of Dubai Municipality Digital Strategy is to build a digital-first municipality by leveraging technology-driven innovation to enable the development of a happy and a sustainable city. The strategy focuses on three things: customer happiness, digital operations, and intelligent enterprise. As you can see, like we were using smart building identity card, we were using the automated NOCs and the building permit system, the 3D printing for building construction, the remote drone inspection, and modernized building information, which is the BIM, and urban development of digital twin. Here's the BIM adoption in Dubai Municipality. In 2003, we started Dubai Municipality started the BIM soft mandate, and then in 2017, a committee was formed for building permit procedures and developments. In 2019, the e-checking BIM pilot project were launched, and in 2020, the BIM roadmap project were launched. And in October 2020, the BIM standards, the version 1, and the BIM GIS integration. And also after that, which is November 2021, the BIM e-submission self-checking service launched. And now, in 2023, activated the DM BIM mandate, which also updated the Dubai BIM standard version to 1.3. Those are the projects of Dubai Municipality. As I mentioned, the roadmap, the standard, the platform, and the integration of GIS, BIM to GIS integration. This is the BIM, this is the roadmap. It was a project that was designed and implement a roadmap for building information modeling in Dubai, which includes a short-term and a long-term plan. This plan was designed to unify BIM standards and integrations with geographic information, GIS, And in order to provide design buildings, in order to provide building design to building permits and authorities when they apply, to make it much easier for them. This is the Dubai BIM standards for building permit. You can find it. It is having a set of standards for information submitted to enable a sufficient or efficient building process and provide information that can be used in other activities to benefit the objectives of the authorities. So in this BIM standard, it includes the documents which is aligned with the ISO 19650, and it also included the model element matrix, model attributes, QA and QC checklist, object name abbreviations, and the BIM templates, which includes the Revit, ArchiCAD, and BIM. This is the platform, the BIM e-submission platform, which will be explained further, inshallah, with Dr. Ibrahim. And this is the integration, example of the integration of BIM to GIS. So designers can use the GIS as most accurate when they want to build as constructions where to take place. And here, the last thing, which is the Dubai Digital Twin, Dubai here, which is an electronic system that provides access to geospatial data and maps in the emirate of Dubai. It features the 2D and 3D. Also, you can see the assets, the plots, the land plots. You can see the landmarks, the structures, and infrastructure facilities, details ranging from master plans and interiors of the buildings. And thank you so much for listening. Now Dr. Ibrahim, inshallah, will continue presenting this part.
Assalamu alaikum. And let me just check that everything is okay. Yes, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Ibrahim. I'm part of the BIM development team, so I'm a member of the team. Today, I will just briefly update you on the progress we have been busy with for the last couple of months. I won't have enough time probably to cover everything in my mind, so maybe about 15-20 minutes. So it's kind of a quick summary, basically, to tell you what we have been busy with. So we kind of, for the last few months, we have been busy on 3 levels. So the first level, we have been busy updating the BIM standard that Hamid was talking about. So we're trying to make it more, adding more value to it, refine it so it's ready when it goes out. So version 1.3 now is the latest. So the 2 main update has been on the standard was improving the attributes, so the minimum requirements for your model when you submit, what are the attributes you need to have in your model. And also we added the usage codes for buildings and units and spaces, so it comply in accordance with what we use internally in the development research. So what the engineers use for classifying the spaces and rooms. So this is kind of briefly on the main update on the BIM standard. The other level we have been working on is integrating the eBIM services we have been developing with other services here coming out soon, inshallah, in the coming months. So it becomes integrated part of other services provided by DM. And the third level is developing or improving the toolkit or the services themselves, so they are really valuable. They are not just providing basic functionality. We're trying to add more capability to them. I'll show you in a minute. So when it goes out, it really provides value to your business and also give you a good experience when you interact with the toolkit or the BIM services. So this is kind of briefly. I expect that in the coming months we'll have workshops, training, to go in depth on this development. So as I said, we have 15 minutes today for myself to give you a quick tour. But again, inshallah, we'll set up workshops and training program to show you in depth and help you get up and running using this standard. So we have the platform where you visit, you log in, and then you upload your BIM files that you create in accordance with our standard. So, but because of the time limit I have to present, I will skip the part that talk about the platform itself. It's basically, once you log in, you upload your files, the BIM files that you create using the BIM authoring tool, and then you convert them to IFC files. So when you have the models, BIM model, you export them as open standard IFC file. If they comply with our standard, then you can upload them to the platform, and then the journey begins. So I will take you straight away to the main component we have been trying to add value to, which is the viewer. So I have here opened 3 buildings, 3 types of buildings. We have added as test use cases or test cases to the platform. So what you see now, 3 models. Already we have the BIM files converted to IFC file, and they have been uploaded to the platform and then processed. So the platform currently is capable of handling different type of buildings. So finger crossed things will be good in the future. So I will just demo the latest update on the viewer. The previous viewer, maybe you can see on the platform that now available publicly, has some limited capability in a way. So we have been busy trying to take the viewer to second level, really. And in a short, in a short statement, I would say the viewer is more, the one you'll see in a minute, is more than just seeing 3D model. We tried to add capability to it to be like a Swiss knife, where you have different tools in it, so you can inspect, check your model in different ways. So I will focus in my demo next on this building. So this building, as I said, is already uploaded and parsed and passed our validation check as good model. So if you look at the viewer here, there are 2 main areas. The middle area where it's the 3D view, so you can see the building, and you have the typical control or functionality that you can control the model. So, for example, I could isolate a certain floor by selecting any entity on that floor, and then you say, show me that floor. So you can filter out entities. I can also hide some element by type. So now you have this floor isolated from the whole building, so you can examine it and see the internal. So it's typical, as I said, 3D viewer in the middle. Now, on the left side, this area, we call it the control panel, where you have the other functionality that you can allow you to control and examine the model further. So beside the 3D view, you will be able to see non-graphical data. So you, as most of you know, the BIM model is not just graphical, 3D graphical data. It has the most important data is the non-graphical data, because this is the data that actually give your model the value, beside, of course, the graphical data. So on the left, we have the control panel. So this tab, the model tab, is where you can see the file uploaded, and you see all the list of the file grouped by building number, architectural discipline, or if you have other discipline uploaded, you'll see them. And it will list all the file versions. In this case, I have only one version uploaded for this building, so it's only one file. Of course, you can download the file you uploaded by clicking on the file name, and you can download any attachment you added to the project. So in short, this tab shows you kind of what the files that comprise make your project when you uploaded the files. The second tab, which is quite also important, is the QA/QC. What it means in short is like when you upload the file, our system will check the file you upload. If they meet the minimum requirement to accept as good quality. It's like when, if I may use analogy, when you log into a system, you usually be authorized. So it's kind of authorizing you, saying your model meet the standard to upload. So in this tab, we show all the issues with your model you upload. So it goes to your model, scan it, and show any issue with it. And if there are any visual issue with it, you can highlight them visually in the viewer. So if there's any visual entity has a problem, missing attribute, missing data, you can see them and you can filter them and see them visually in the viewer. Currently, all the issues are not serious in this model. It's all warning, but you can filter if there's any error or warning issues. So it's quite important in the future when you upload your model to check this tab to see if there's any issue with your model. Now the third tab is the compliance checking, and this is where we took set of rules from building code, and we automated them. And the rule varies from complexity. So some simple rules, just checking simple value attributes if they exist or not, and some are special attributes where we check geometry and distances between objects. We're planning to increase the number of rules we cover. I think now we have about 100 maybe rules, but we're planning to add more rules as we go. So currently the model already checked, and I see here all the rules that need checked, grouped by different categories.
Okay, my name is Bilal Succar. I am originally from Beirut, Lebanon. So if you haven't visited Beirut, don't yet, okay? Quite a bit. But I've been living in Melbourne for 20 years or more, where I've done my studies into BIM. I was explaining to our colleagues here, I have a very checkered history of like studying stuff, not liking them and changing my mind, but then I rested on the BIM thing, which I really enjoy. When I use the term BIM, I don't just mean models, okay? I practically mean everything under the sun when it comes to digital transformation. So if you can think about it, it's included in the term. So digital twin, visual design and construction, design for manufacturing and assembly, but using digital means. That's really included in the term. My focus, my passion, my work is all about helping industry and policymakers to accelerate adoption. Okay? All of us know that there's a need to move forward, but people struggle with how to incentivize people, okay? And we're all busy, so much work to do, and so really the work we do is trying to help them a bit, help the policymakers in particular, give them the tools, maybe some of the concepts to help them move forward. In my presentation today, I wasn't really 100% sure of the composition of people here, so I've included a few things here and there. But before I start, I would like to thank BuildingSMART and, of course, the Municipality, our host here, and for presentations from Hamid and Dr. Ibrahim, and of course Dr. Ali for his invitation. Dubai is, like many people here, it's just a place of work, place of residence. For me, it's always been a passing way. So, and every time I pass, I find something new happening. It's very exciting, but I know it's very, very challenging. It's not easy. It's not easy to continuously change. So just imagine every time you go inside your house and everything, the layout is different. There's different rules to do stuff. So I do acknowledge the specific challenges faced in Dubai, the Emirates, and of course the whole region. It's very challenging, very exciting. So I have a couple of things I want to say today. First, I'm going to introduce the BIM Excellence Initiative, or the BIM Initiative, the projects we're currently working on, and then I will dive into the topic. And the reason why I added this section because I want to identify some of the things we do which are of relevance. There's a lot that we do as a community. So I'm just going to start, but what is the BIM Excellence Initiative or the BIM Initiative? So let me start. If you have heard of the BIM Initiative or some of this project, can you please raise your hand? Okay, not good. Not good at all. So we have a lot of work to do. And I'm going to explain a couple of projects. And I'm really happy to see so many women and female here. So thank you so much for attending. It's very important. I know it could be a bit, our industry is very daunting for women. And we need to encourage their participation, especially in the topic of adoption and digital transformation. Where I come from Melbourne, I'm not going to say most, but definitely more than 50% of the managers and people who work in these roles are women. And there's a good reason for that. It's a complex thing. We men can't handle it, can't multitask, as they say. So it's very complex. It needs a lot of emotional intelligence. Sadly, the topic of BIM is assumed to be, or BIM adoption, to be technical. It's not technical. The technology part of it is the simplest part. Okay, most of the things that we need to take care of and continuously work on are related to working on protocols and helping people understand them and move forward, encouraging them, motivating them. So what's the BIM Initiative? It's not for profit type of work we do. We use research-based approaches. We have more than 160 participants, all researchers, we call them. They're not all from academia. Nearly half are from academia, professors and master students, etc. The rest are researchers from industry. So the term researcher is really all about anyone who is using a rigorous method within their work, within their studies, to understand a complex topic like BIM and all these related issues, and then developing either a concept or a tool that will help others, not just them. We try to give a coherent response, not always possible. We are partially supported by organizations. So what are the industry challenges we're trying to cover, people say we're always lagging behind, and we tend to believe it. We are, in some sense, in some aspects, lagging behind. In others, we are ahead. We can discuss this. It's all about productivity. We have really lots of conflicts in how do you combine all these new things in our established processes. We have certain ways of doing things, and then comes a disruptive technology, and we're trying to, map it, change out the way we do stuff. It creates a conflict, and this conflict is really stops people from moving. Many people just, when they see conflict, they just don't try to tackle it. They just stop. They hide behind their current practices. Missed opportunities. Industry doesn't really engage with academia that much, the construction industry. But if you look at oil and gas, or you look at agriculture, engagement between industry and academia, I'm just taking many examples from around the world, but in Australia, there's lots of engagement between research bodies and these industries. But when it comes to construction, something's not really working. Risks of, because of complexity of the processes, etc. Look, you know about all these different things. But so really, as a community, and you as an individual, if you're interested about helping the industry, you need to have some kind of mission to help it, to improve performance. And you can do some things individually, and you can do some things through joining BuildingSMART. You can do some things by creating your own community. Some of them, are easier than others, let me say. But it's very important that to think outside our daily work and try to help others like us to improve. We decided to develop this BIM Excellence Initiative, or BIM initiative, a long time ago, maybe like 15 years ago. It didn't work back then. It was a little bit early. Nobody understood what we were doing. We then tried again. We failed. We tried again. Now we have some important projects that we continuously improve upon, and new things we are thinking about. So our mission is to accelerate digital transformation, and me being here is part of that mission. Okay, how do we do it? It's to demonstrate new ways of thinking about the problem. Like we all have the same probably passion. Need to improve, need to adopt new tools and processes and new standards, and use these beautiful tools that we've seen, but sometimes it's a bit hard. So we want to help policymakers to develop the policies needed to help people move. We have something, I'm not going to be able to go in detail into the common knowledge structures we have. We have a set of projects and a community of researchers. So our BIM initiative is these three things: knowledge and how we organize it, meaning if we're discussing a topic, how do you understand it in a way that is comprehensive and understandable and people can learn from. The second is, if you want to do something, you want to change something, typically use the project as a component. We have a set of projects in order to improve knowledge and improve adoption. And then we rely on our community of researchers, which is this 160 strong from 41 countries. We deliver matrices, macro assessments. I'll cover some of these. All free, modular workflows for people to start from. So if you want to start developing a new process within your work, you could use some of our templates to start your process. And we have an open access tools. I'll cover this as well. Fancy diagram, you can look online, lots of things there. How we use research to develop something called components, and then we use the components to develop tools, etc. Okay, so everything we do is based on research, and when we say peer-reviewed research, we mean it. It doesn't have to be published in a journal paper, but our members are professors and doctors, and when they peer review each other, they do a really good job. These are our projects. BIM Dictionary. Anyone heard of the BIM Dictionary? Okay, a little bit more hands than before. So this is project A in the BIM initiative, and I'll show you something about it. Knowledge sharing is how we organize knowledge. It's a separate project because this is one of the weaknesses of all other initiatives in this domain. They don't organize their knowledge in a systematic way, so meaning different people will be doing the same thing over and over and over again, okay? And there will be gaps. So usually you have to think about the problem in a holistic way, organize it, and then start working. Competency and learning is separate, performance improvement is separate, macro adoption, and I'll explain what that is separately, and integrated information. So only 6 projects, that's it. We're not going to add any more, but we continuously improve upon them. And within these, there's hundreds of macro projects. What's the BIM Dictionary project? So some of you will know BIM Dictionary. You can later, not now, please go to BIMDictionary.com. Look at 800 or so terms and descriptions, translated into 27 languages. If you go online, you will see version 2 of it. We're working on version 3, which will include not only translations, but will include regionalization, meaning you'll be able, if you speak French, to use the French version of the dictionary. We'll have a French interface, but you'll have sets of terms specific to France or specific to Quebec. Very different. And they sound also different if you know what I mean. The second, and I'll show you, maybe I'll just jump out of this, show you quickly the BIM Dictionary. Actually, it's easy if I show you. By the way, this is where you can go to the BIM initiatives. You go to bimexcellence.org, and you can scroll through all the different resources and different projects, etc. So as I said, the BIM Dictionary is project A, and here you can search for different terms. I don't know, let's search for, what comes to mind? Asset something. Asset maintenance, asset management, all very short, okay? The idea is if you want to use a term and you quickly want to find a definition and not just go and search the web and get confused, this is where you can start. Depending on how busy were the editors, you will see all these different translations. Let's see it in Bulgarian. Who's from Bulgaria here? Come on. Okay.
In Arabic.
Huh?
Let's see in Arabic.
Arabic, yes, there's Arabic.
Good. Very good.
Arabic. Where is it?
No,
It's gone.
should be the first one. A.
Hey. Oh, this one doesn't have Arabic. Let's have a look. Missing.
Why did you say
I don't know. I don't know. There's a team. You can blame the team. Let's have a look. Okay. Let's say Azerbaijani. I'm from Azerbaijan. Arabic. That's fine.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's have something.
Yeah, no, that's quite a lot. Actually, if you look at percentage completed, we've got French, Arabic, and Spanish are mostly done. So there's a lot of work being done.
Very good.
So it's a place where you can start, but not only this, the general idea of the dictionary also is not just to give you basic information. Eventually, if you want to go into deeper, we don't have many of these yet, but this is where we collaborate with others. So for example, the topic of Kobe, which would be relevant to today's session, we have an entry by Bill East, Dr. Bill East, who is the parent of Kobe, okay? He wrote this, so we collaborated with him. He will provide this. All right. So this is the dictionary. I'll show you another one. So let's just go to the project E, macro adoption project, which is more relevant to today's session. What's the macro adoption? We will be relaunching. Let me explain it. Macro adoption project is all about helping policymakers understand what worked in other places. Okay, so we collect data from across the world about policies and standards and initiatives and incentives. What did they do? How did they do it? And over the years, we could measure the success. Okay? So for example, we look at the UK as a famous example. What have they done with regards to BIM adoption? Did it work? Where did it work? Where it didn't work at all? We look at in different countries. And we've done this over multiple phases. This project started in 2010. We had to stop for a couple of years during the COVID. And then we're relaunching phase 3. So phase 3, we're expanding the project, and the launch of phase 3 will happen in Rio de Janeiro in September. So next month, we have a session there, like main session there, and we're launching the new project. But you can learn about this project by going to macroadoption.com. You will see, I'm not supposed to show you this yet, but in principle, because we're starting to recruit people for this project, and there's a short video you can see about the project there. I'm not going to show you the project, but later please have a look, because we're launching it soon. I will be in contact with Dr. Ali and others here to include, of course, data from the area. So these are the types of projects we do. If you're not 50 yet, just know that when you get 50, you get one of these. Okay? It comes, or 50, happy birthday. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. So when we do macro adoption, we have all these different models that we use, published in journal papers, and we combine them to generate tools and templates for policymakers. So for example, one of these templates would be the diffusion role matrix, which takes one of the models and combines it with another model and saying, for example, who are the macro policy players in a market. So for example, this is the first column. So the policymaker has a role to play: education institutions, large construction organizations, the individual, technology developers like Autodesk and Bentley, BuildingSMART, industry associations. They all have a role in encouraging adoption across the market. And then we compare them against a set of maturity components. We refer to them as maturity components. We have a paper about this and resources about this. And say, what is the recommended role of these different players for these different objectives based on the data we collect. Another example would be a roadmap. You've seen a typical roadmap presented today. There's lots of these roadmaps. What we do is say, okay, these are the components again, and we match them against time. And we give these policymakers a template. Say, if you want to start thinking about this problem, have a look about this. This combines what we refer to as the theoretical maximum. Like if you want to think about this problem, what are all the concepts you should keep in mind and at the high level? So say, okay, you need to have clear objectives by this year, meaning what are you attempting to do, and then you should define minimum capability requirements for a project of type X. You heard the question today, does this apply for project type X or project size X? So the job of the policymaker to say, we want you to do this at this type of quality, but we want to apply it gradually by project size, project complexity, project type, etc., and by the state. And then you start expanding this, and for each one of them, of these, you say, you need to establish championship, and you need to have a driver. And this, give an example, and this, you'll find this in the dictionary, but a champion is people who are excited, about this. Like many of us are champions, but for the market to move forward, you need a driver. Okay? You need someone with a responsibility to take things forward. It's not enough to have championship. Actually, from a maturity perspective, I'm not going to cover maturity within companies. Because this is the type of work we do on the business side, when you go and measure organizations' capability maturity, you ask, are there any champions? And they say yes. This person or that person is a champion, they're moving us forward, they're helping us adopt technology, and then you look about other metrics. If they're at the start of their journey and they say they don't have champions, that's bad. If they're already 2 years, 3 years into their journey and they have champions, that's bad, really bad, you know? Because by that time they should have systemized the adoption, meaning it became part of the system. So seeing champions at that later stage of adoption gives you the different understanding of the maturity of an organization. Same with markets, so etc. So these types of, and you can find this online, like if they have the right guides, what type of guides, if they have integrated their educational system, competency frameworks, etc. If they have measurements, benchmarks, and most regions, they miss this part. They may have, the maximum we've seen is 7 out of these 8, but many people who lack one of them would be lacking the measurements and benchmarks part. They don't have component libraries, they have the technology infrastructure necessary for a high level of capability build-up. And based on this project, there are roadmaps published. We do this, for example, in Ireland, we did it twice. With CETA in Spain, we did it twice with BuildingSMART Spain, Spanish chapter. In Quebec, Canada, we did it twice as well. Some places we did it only once. We'll be doing it, hopefully, like this type of work, which generates at the end of the day a report and lessons learned multiple times. So at least once every 2 years, so we see what's happening. So that's section 1. This is the BIM initiative in brief. Okay. If you can remember the BIM dictionary out of this, that's enough. Go and visit. Later, when we launch the macro adoption project, we'll go through BuildingSMART, probably UAE, and then we'll probably learn about it in more detail then. So, this is a silly title, no? It's definitely it's important. You know, can you nowadays do anything without digital means? You know, to come here, use an app. Yeah, you always get the same car for some reason. I don't know why. All the same, but you use an app. And here, I don't know, the service from Karim and Uber is amazing. Like you don't order a car before you go down the elevator. You order it down because by the time you press, you know, I want to go there. Within 1 minute, the car is there. Amazing. So in construction digitalization, and some researchers will differentiate between digitization and digitalization. Okay. Digitalization, when you take something analog and you digitize it, you scan it. Okay? And digitalization is a process. You go change your processes from non-digital by default to digital by default. This is our game. It's not to make just things digital, not just to scan buildings and make digital twins. It's more about digitalization as a way of thinking, and this is the hard part. It's an opportunity and a prerequisite. So, you know, we need to embrace the opportunity in improving our productivity, performance, efficiency, etc. But nowadays, it's no longer an opportunity, especially in a place like this. Okay? I go all over the world, and some countries are behind in the basics of digitalization. So we stress the prerequisite part. Yeah, unless you move, you may not be able to join, you will be behind the productivity train. Like it's just absolutely necessary to start your journey in construction through BIM. BIM is the entry point, okay? It's not the end point. You have to start thinking about the problem of construction through digital means, and how do I digitalize my processes? How do I digitize my assets? Digital innovation within the construction industry needs technologies, processes, and policies. And guess what? We've got lots of technologies, and you name it. And technologies in the BIM space have been available for a long time. I started my journey in this 2001, so 22 years ago. Okay, we used to do Revit training by 2002. I used to train within my company and then open my own business. Technologies, there's so many technologies. That's just no longer an issue of there's the missing technology. It was the case 20 years ago. There's a missing link, there's a missing solution. Now this is more about there's a missing integration of technologies, okay? It's no longer about individual technologies that are missing, they're not. And if you've read any of the papers I've published in the past years, it's all about combination of technologies, processes, and policies. When a market matures, they start providing solutions, technology solutions. The second thing they work on is policies. Okay? And you see this example very clear from the UK with the focus on standardization. What always lacks and which really combines everything is the focus on process, focus on new workflows, on better workflows. When we go, I've been doing this for a long time, and people say, are we there yet? You have kids in the car, are we there yet? And I always say, look, we are all on the same road, and it's a very long road. And have you ever visited Australia, anyone? If you ever go, give yourself time to go between South Australia and Western Australia. Yeah, very creative names. South Australia and Western Australia, 2 states. We have a very long highway, endless. It's the longest straight highway in the world, no bends, 140-something kilometers. And the road to digitalization is like this. There's no end. You can't see it, okay? It's the same. So we're all on the same road and has no end. It's not going to be any time in the future we say we've reached our destination. Not really. So it's a continuous process. So really, are we there yet is not a valid question. It's about just continuously moving. The idea is, are you moving fast enough? Are other kangaroos passing you by while you're walking? It's about speed. It's about keeping the momentum. It's keeping focus. And when we're discussing digital transformation, it's like any strategy. It's all about figuring out the 3 steps. It's just typical. The first one is, where am I? Okay, where am I on my digital transformation journey? We are doing this. We have a roadmap. We've covered. This is our state, where we're going, which is the future state that we want to go to, and of course, what is the best route forward? And it's not the shortest route forward that is always important. It's the best route forward. And on this, identifying the best route forward from where we are in our digital transformation to where we want to be is really the key. So now, really the main point of this presentation is, other than what I just mentioned about what others need to be thinking about, is public sector efforts. What are others doing? Sector efforts. What are others doing? You've seen what Dubai municipality is doing. You probably are aware of others, but I'm not going to cover them in detail. But just to give you an idea about how others are thinking about the issue, and then maybe we can together understand some of the lessons learned. Now, if you distilled everything, you turn out to find everything fits beautifully under 3 things. It's mandates. You need to do this by a certain time. Standards. This is how we should do stuff. and incentives, how the policymaker encourages this change. Okay, a good policymaker could be a government. Like, for example, give you an example in Brazil where I've worked on this topic. The federal government versus the state government versus the municipality. Who is responsible to do the mandates? What standards should be applied, etc. How do you encourage organizations to move forward? Public sector organization and private sector organization. The idea is it should be a combination of the above. It's never just the mandate. Some countries have tried the mandate approach. Maybe some of you would remember, I've been in Dubai discussing this topic maybe 10 years ago. And then after there was a mandate for people to do things in a certain way, but there was not enough information on what to be done and how it would be done. Mandates on their own are very difficult to implement, so top-down is very difficult. I'll explain this a little bit more. Standards, like you see what the UK has done to all of us with their ISO 19650 now, it became international standard. I don't know what they've done, but now we are stuck with a series of complex standards that we all need to follow, and incentives, which is always lacking. So a combination of all three. So let's look at a few of them. The CIC Construction Industry Council is a good one. All of them have done this differently. So I'm just going to highlight some of the things they've done. Their focus was on awareness. Anyone from Hong Kong? No? Okay. They developed BIM standards, they provided financial incentives. This is very important. In Hong Kong, it depends on the culture, it depends on pre-BIM culture within a region. If the industry are used to the government telling them what to do, they will not move forward unless the government tells them to move forward. Okay? So for example, in Hong Kong, they are used to having this kind of mandates. They are awaiting the government to tell them how to improve their performance, to give them guidance, so they will not risk anything before they see that guidance. In Australia, it's quite the opposite. If the government tells you to do something, you do the opposite. Okay? We don't listen the federal government does not include itself in these topics anyway. Yeah, they will give you general awareness, give you, hey, you should think about whatever, about innovation, help you to innovate. They will not spend any money on it. Maybe give some money to the research council there. But I'll explain this in a separate slide. They're very different from Hong Kong, let's say, okay? And you can see how different it is when you look at their, how much money they're spending, okay? Can you see the number? It's not just for BIM and other stuff, but $127 million to encourage the industry to move forward. Spending them on awareness, subsidizing training, seminars, money, of course, with a focus. So they put a lot of effort of moving the industry forward. Sadly for Hong Kong, they had a really strong push, and then they stopped for a few years. They lost a lot of the momentum, and then they're starting again. If they didn't stop, I would say they would have been leaders in this. You've seen this, which is excellent to have a roadmap. Having a roadmap, I'm not saying it's not a good roadmap, I'm just saying having a roadmap, even if it's not perfect, is much better than not having a roadmap. Absolutely, and this is a part of the maturity matrix. If you are interested in the topic of maturity, like capability, maturity, competence, etc., from an organization maturity, the worst thing in an organization is not to have things defined. Like for example, they don't have a training plan. Okay, having a bad training plan is better than not having a training plan. Make sense? Okay, and then you can improve it, you can manage it, and you can integrate it with others. Same thing when it comes at policy level. Germany, the engineers, they focus on roads, so their focus was more on infrastructure and roads, trains, and they spend a lot of money with their other partners in helping improve the IFC standard for transportation. United States, they were leading this. back in the day, back in 2001, 2002, used to have lots of standards, and then something happened, they stopped, and the leadership pattern was moved to the UK. No one heard about what the US are doing in the periods between 2000 and let's say 10 and now. Now they're doing a new standard, we call it the NBIMS version 4. They put a lot of effort. Professor Messner from Penn State University is leading it. The guy is wonderful. If you can get him here, he is very motivational. He's leading the effort across the US. Finland, beautiful job. When you look at Scandinavian countries, they focus a lot on interoperability. That's their focus. Their idea about moving the industry forward is to making access easier for industry and to making the standards more open. So their approach is really an interoperable approach. It's not about spending money to help organizations to do training. So each country will have their own approach. Norway, similar to Scandinavian countries. Other European, you'll find something from Sweden, from Italy, European Union, they have their own studies. I don't want to bore you with all these things, but Japan, Plan BIM, I've highlighted this one because these people have done an amazing job from Chile. I had the opportunity to meet with them a couple of times, and the work they've done in the public sector. Plan BIM is kind of it's kind of a governmental association. I mean, it's funded by Corfu, which is kind of a department within the government, but they created this separate entity. They called it Plan BIM. Gave it the money, gave them mandate to help housing sector, to help this and that, and they generated a lot of beautifully made and really well thought guides and standards. I encourage you later to search for Plan BIM Chile, because Plan BIM has now been adopted. Many of the work they've done have been now adopted in Latin America and different countries. We typically don't look there. Like if you're here, you don't look, what are the people in Uruguay doing? No, not really. But you should, because it's the same issue, same problem, same challenges, and many of the same solutions would apply here. I would encourage you to look at, watch a little bit Dora the Explorer to learn Spanish, and then go there. But now there's Google Translate, everyone can read the materials and benefit from them. So you don't know Dora the Explorer? Come on. Brazil would have done some work there, as I said. There, the federal government, Brazil is big, as you probably know, and different states, they have their own state level standards. But they were able to do something that others couldn't do, which is this, they were able to combine all these different levels of government into a coherent effort. It's not an easy thing, especially with the size of Brazil, different levels of development across different states. I'm going to Brazil in September, as I mentioned. This is the second time I go this year. So they're doing a really good job. I would encourage you also to have a look at what they're doing. Keep an eye. And if you're interested in this, or this is something you want to learn from in order to improve your industry or your own organization, you can apply most of the lessons learned within these into your company. If your company is medium to large, let's say above 150, you will learn a lot from these kinds of documents, because the macro scale applies at that when your company is that size or more. I'll focus on where I put a little bit more effort and work in. So France and Canada. Now they changed the name of BIM Plan 2022, and they removed 2022. Who can guess why? They didn't finish on time. Yeah? Never put a date in your title of the initiative. That's the lesson learned, number one. Okay? Don't say BIM strategy 2023. No. Okay? It's self-defeating. Say this century hopefully within the next millennium. But because this is never ending, and it's a complex thing. You know, many things need to move and need to be coordinated perfectly for everything to work. So it needs continuous effort. Their focus was helping owners. What's the best practice? Assisting small to medium. Their focus is more on small to medium. You know, the industry is mostly made of small to medium enterprises. So 90%, 92 to 96% of any construction industry across the world will be made of what we used to call man with a van, and then the person with all the equipment in the back. Okay, this would be one person or two people or up to 8 people would be 90% of the market, and the rest would be medium and large. Their focus was on these small to medium enterprises. And improving the competencies. And they also done one thing, and which is where we helped them. The Ministry of Housing. We haven't integrated this still with the BIM dictionary. It is online and you can look at it. If you go to, no, not this one. This is a new version of the BIM dictionary, so it's not ready. Let's go to this one. Okay. So you can see the address would be planbimfr.bimdictionary.com. They provided us with funding, and we developed this interface for them to help. Who can speak? This was an Algerian here. You understand this? Yes. Anyone else from North Africa or Lebanon? No?
North Africa, Egypt.
Egypt?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, sorry, man. You're ruled by the British.
Yeah.
You don't count. Yeah. Yeah. So it's in French. Hopefully, we'll translate this in the future, but this was funded by the government and to help the industry to understand why to adopt ISO 9650, and has lots of information in it, types of information, and you're probably familiar with some of these charts from ISO, and you can just go through it. So the idea here from the government is, okay, I want to help the industry move forward. How do I help them? For them, here was to just make the information more accessible, rather than giving them money, like in some countries, or to subsidizing training or subsidizing software tools, etc. And you can go, some of them are quite complex, and you can see this like this metro kind of stuff here. Putting my glasses. Okay. The second, other than France, I'm still working with the Quebec construction industry. They have an initiative. They gave money. They created a body called Group BIM de Quebec, and they gave them money. The government gave them money. In the first 3 years, they gave them, and this is all public knowledge, so no problem. They gave them $7 million Canadian dollars, and then they renewed their contract. So now their mandate is being extended to 5 years. I've been working with them since the beginning. Their idea is about helping industry is to engage directly with construction organizations, assess them, and then identify knowledge gaps, and then develop training materials for them, which are tailored to each company. Very different. So some policymakers would just say, we need you to move forward. This is what you generally need to do. We encourage you to do it. Here, it's more tailored. I want to assess you. I want to identify the gaps. I want to do workshops with you, etc. Okay, a bit more engaged with them. One of the things we developed with them is, we have a solution called Assessor.io, and we developed a special solution for them where they assessed now close to 550 now organizations. We give them the data. They use the data to identify the gaps. Within the solution, we gave them there are different roles. So, for example, there's the assessor who will do the assessment. It could be like someone who will call them and make sure that if they said they have a training plan, if they really have a training plan, they could go there, do workshops, etc. Give them some tools. So this is part of what we do through the assessor. And before they develop their own macro adoption report, we give them data. So our job, this is a more commercial hat on, our job is to help them identify the gaps, give them data about the gaps, encourage them as much as we can to do pre-qualification rather than post-delivery assessment. And there's always this question. We are working on assessing the deliverables of a company. We're assessing your models before you submit it, before you upload it into the system, okay? By that time, it's a bit late, okay? So encourage policymakers to focus on pre-qualification. So before you engage with a supply chain, assess that supply chain. We've done this like with multiple companies, like the construction companies. Assess the supply chain, identify the gaps, help them. I don't have the example here, but there's an example from Australia which I didn't work on. We have a big project called Level Crossing Removing Authority. There's in Melbourne, where I live, there's lots of trains that intersect with roads, okay? There's no overpass or underpass. So we call this the level crossing. So it used to create a lot of problems until the state government said, we need to remove most of them. They created an authority and a mandate to remove 50 in a certain couple of years. It's a huge project, and it's the only major project with billions of dollars, which I think is always ahead of schedule, ahead of the budget, below the budget. Okay? And when you look at what they're doing, these are infrastructure projects, they're very complex. They invested a lot in assessing and improving the supply chain. Like they would bring in the construction supply chain, do workshops for them, help them to how to use Excel, just basic stuff, how to use PowerPoint, how to present their work. And over time, not just Revit and GIS and RFIDs and all the basic stuff, and over time, and engaging with them over and over again, until they were able to improve their efficiency. And now every new project is more efficient than one before it, because there are lessons learned. And this only happens when the government authority or someone with let's say with the purse, with the money, engages with the people they're working with at that level. I'm assessing you because I want to help you. I'm assessing you because I want you to be more efficient, and then I will become more efficient. Then I'll be under budget and schedule. Just for people who so there's lots and lots of these guides, and we're discussing guides and standards and what people do. This is collated by students at ETS, which is a university in Quebec. I don't know if you've seen a small number at the bottom. 619. These are reports, guides, and standards covering BIM adoption. So if you have time, okay, you can enjoy reading all this. But look, I'm going to save you a lot of time by saying, if you distill all of these into like actions and lessons learned, you'll get what I'm going to share with you next. What's the role of public entities? One, whether it's the municipality, the state government, the federal government, the authority. The first and most important thing is to communicate a clear vision. Where we're going and why we're doing it. And you shouldn't do it just to say because we want it. Okay, fine. You know, I know you want it, and you're the person who is paying me, etc. But we always need to engage people at a different level when it comes to digital transformation. It's all about improving our lives, our environment, our society. But this needs to be communicated in a compassionate way, and the vision must be clear. Vision can be clear through a roadmap, could be through a strategy. Roadmap is always better than a strategy. Demonstrating leadership, don't ask people to do stuff you don't do yourself. Doesn't work. People see through you. Okay? It's very important as a lesson learned. Engage with all stakeholders, small and large, and this is very important. As I mentioned with the project in Victoria, and where I come from, engaging with all stakeholders. Some of them would be very small companies. Why would you put a large organization with 1,000 or more projects, ongoing projects, with a company that only have a couple of projects or very small? Put them in the same room, discuss things with them, treat them with respect, let them share their issues, and try to find solutions. Detailed information requirements. Come on, this is pretty basic, and this is what ISO 19650 helps us with. At least it provides a template, a framework for clarifying information that is needed on a specific project. It's not the perfect solution, but at least a template. Providing incentives, positive and negative. A positive incentive would be I'm gonna help you, like for example, if you're a small organization, I'm gonna help train you on Revit or Bentley or a better solution or any other solution that is needed. Negative is, give you an example. Negative is when you give subsidies to something bad. Like for example, if you're trying to encourage people to move to electric cars and you're still subsidizing petrol. Okay? And you're telling them to do something, but you're incentivizing the opposite. Okay? Prioritizing training, committing to a long-term journey. And this is very important, this long road. Now, in the case of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, I don't know, maybe others, Sharjah, Ajman, and Ras Al Khaimah, who am I missing? Fujairah, yeah, always forget one. So there's a case of collective action because really there's lots of efficiency in combining the efforts of the municipality of Dubai, municipality of Abu Dhabi, other authorities, by creating a common framework. This common framework could be around as basic as a common glossary. This is how we name things. This is when we say asset maintenance, is what we mean. When we say digital twin, this is its limitations and this is its metrics. By creating common guides. It's good to have Dubai municipality BIM standards. Just how amazing it would be if it was UAE BIM standards, correct? And now, because all the growth happening in the area, Dubai is leading in certain respects, others will be leading in other respects. It would be good to have common standards, not just in the Emirates, maybe Saudi Arabia, maybe Kuwait, maybe other countries within the region. And this is what's happening in the LATAM area, Latin America. One usually uses the term LATAM, it means Latin America and the Caribbean. Huge, all Spanish-speaking countries here, Arabic-speaking in principle, and the Caribbean. So they have this now sharing they have common frameworks, they meet regularly, they share standards. So that will help them to really speed things up, at least, and minimize some of the costs. And common metrics, how do you measure success? How do you measure performance? How do you measure competence? And maybe, eventually, some kind of common certification. BuildingSMART will have a certification program, it's quite limited. So a common certification across the region would be amazing. And a common digital environment. It's crazy, but now in Brazil, the government has funded, the federal government has provided funding to develop a common data environment. To me, it's crazy. It's very hard to do, but it's a great attempt. Like to have everyone using the same platform to communicate.
In Germany as well.
Germany, okay, that's good to know. It's not easy, especially in the context of Brazil. It's not something that you would imagine happening quickly. A common training framework, etc. Now I'm gonna just check the time and see how much. So we should give some time for questions. Okay, I think I should need to jump over some things. So internally, we need to develop some abilities, digital foundations. The BIM municipality already developing its own information requirements. Improve consistency internally before expecting industry to move forward. Identify advanced players in the market and engage with them through collaboration. So for example, even if you engage with everyone, at the end of the day, there's certain companies who are advanced in a certain aspect. They're great at laser scanning. These people are great at creating digital mock-ups and connecting them to physical assets, etc. Try to learn from them. And supporters of, early supporters of the roadmap, let's say, they're following you, they want you to succeed. You need to support them, even if they do mistakes. Assess, certify, and audit. You know, of course, we want everyone to perform top level, and only with full assessment you can measure that and improve performance. Moving forward quickly, I'm going to say there's three things. Mandates. Mandates are very important. Why? I was against mandates for a long time until I saw the data. Let's put it this way. Pull is better than push. Pull is easier than push. Meaning, if the government or the is pulling you, even in a country like Australia, where we don't really want the government to be involved in any of this, especially the federal, the state government, it's still and the US at the same time is similar. Australia and the US in this respect are similar. We don't expect the government to tell us what to do, but there's value in it. There's value in it. So if you're in a culture where you expect the government to lead, that's easier. But where it's not. So China is doing a lot quicker than you expect to see in other places. Self-motivation and imitation. I'm not going to cover this. Please, if you're interested in the difference between top-down, the government telling you to do something, or the municipality telling you to do something, versus you think it's the best way to move forward, versus something we refer to as middle out, meaning leaders within a company or a medium-sized organizations moving first and then infusing the market. Please search for macro adoption. You will find a couple of research papers about it. Beautiful reading if you want to go to sleep. But anyway, try it. You'll find it enjoyable if this is a topic that you work on every day. I'm going to skip a few of these things. Small steps. I've been telling this forever, okay? And you cannot go from pre-BIM to full BIM, whatever that means. Digital twin and everything in between. You can't, okay? It's always about these steps. Never forget the steps. How you have to first develop your own internal abilities to model, to create processes, to create internal protocols, and then you start collaborating with others, and then you start integrating with different solutions. If you're going to jump from CAD to integrating with BIM municipalities, beautiful solution in one go, good luck to you. Okay? So you need to focus on these steps. And going even between these stages is different steps, which we know what these steps are, and you know what these steps are. We know that these are technology steps, process steps, and policy steps. Meaning, if you want to adopt BIM or any kind of digital transformation technology, it's all about having the right tool, generating the new processes, and adopting the right protocols. In summary, 20+ years. Invest in people. Stop investing too much in technology. I know there's someone from Autodesk, sorry. You should still buy, but I'm just saying, if you have $100 to spend, you spend 70 cents on technology and the rest on people. Take training, more training, and training have a life cycle and have a shelf time. You know, if you train someone and they don't use it, if you go train someone on Revit, let's say, what I used to do, and in 8 days they don't use it, you lose half of the training. Okay. Invest in process, mapping, and re-engineering. Look at your processes, try to understand the steps, try to optimize each step, remove steps. And if you bring in Professor Messner, we will focus on this. Partnerships, and collaborate. I know it's difficult depending on the culture, but you know, in cultures where collaboration, like in Scandinavian countries, is given higher value, you will find better improvement at lower cost. Some of the recommendations don't work everywhere. I'm not saying you should do all of this at the same time. Culture has a really important part of it, but it doesn't mean if you can do 10 out of 10, you can do 7. Embrace national guides, international standards, support the adoption of national and international standards. Even if these standards are not perfect, okay, it's better than no standards, okay? Commit to long-term structured implementation pathway. So if you're focusing internally within your company, need to be laid down. Your approach needs to be consistent, and you should avoid stopping for long periods. Okay, just stops people from focusing on the target. You will lose what you've gained, and sometimes restarting an effort is harder than starting it. Okay, because people become jaded. We've tried this before, it didn't work. Why are we trying it again? So just being consistent and committing that it's a long journey. So if you tell people, this we're gonna finish in 2 years, you've lost them. Because in 2 years, you won't have it. You have to tell them this is a continuous thing. You subdivide it into small pieces and you say, in the first year, these are our objectives, but in the first 3 months, we're gonna focus on this small part. And that's it. Thank you.